Okay, look at the radical, -8 square root of 726, and figure out which one of these is the rewritten form of the radical. I will show you two ways to do it. I'm going to first show you the way that we would have done it when I taught this unit. You take it to the side, and you're going to factor tree the number inside the radical. What I mean by that is look for numbers that multiply to give you 726. Well, can anybody right off the top of their head think of numbers that multiply to 726? No, not right off the top of your head, but you notice that 726 is an even number, so you're pretty confident that it's going to be 2 times something, right? Right, 2 times 363 will multiply to a 726. 2 is prime, so it can't be factored anymore. You just keep bringing it down. What are some numbers that multiply to 363? Well, whole numbers. Well, 363 ends with a 3, so divide it by 3. Okay, so 3 and 121. And now we have 2 this prime and 3 this prime, so we're done with those. What will 121 break down into? 11 times 11, which are both prime. So you're now done with your factor tree because you've gotten to the bottom with all prime numbers. And 2 times 3 times 11 times 11 will multiply to make 726. Now you circle your pairs. Right. Kill one of them, kick one of them out of the house, and then the other ones that were not circled go back in, and what do you do with them? Multiply them. 2 times 3 is 6, but that's only the square root of 726 simplified. You've got to remember this -8 that was out there from the beginning, but you now multiply by the 11 to make -88 square roots of 6. Now, let's talk about what you would do if you have no idea or can't remember how to factor tree. Since you have a nice calculator, you can just type in -8 square root 726. -8 square root 726 and hit equals or enter. And what do you see? So we'll round that to -215.6. Now look at your answer choices. B is already simplified. Is -90.75 the same thing as that? Is -2,904 the same thing? No. So now let's see what would happen had we typed in C. -986 square roots of 6. That is not the same number, right? But when you type in -88 square root 6, you get the exact same number you got when you typed in the original question. So do you see any reason why you should miss one like that on the EOC? Okay, now let's look at number 2. First we'll do it the way I would have taught it, just as a refresher, and then we can check it with the calculator. This number is on the outside. So what number is on the outside of this radical? And since you're multiplying, 2 times 1 is 2, and then 8 and 20 are both up under the radical, so that means you can multiply them as well. What's 8 times 20? 160. Okay, so now we no longer have that because we multiplied it together and it made 2 square roots of 160. Now we're going to factor tree just like we did in the previous problem. What are the factors of 160? 80 times 10 is 160. 80 and 2. Those aren't your other options. You could have gone with 40 and 4, 10 and 16. You don't have to start with the same numbers as everybody else. You just have to start with 2 numbers that multiply to 160. So now break down 80. Okay? And 2's prime, so it just keeps dropping. What are factors of 40? Okay, and then just drop your prime factors. What are the factors of 20? Okay, we can go with 5 and 4. And now everything in that list is prime except for which number? So it breaks down into another set of 2's, and then you have to drop everything down even with it. That way when you start circling, everything's on the same level. Okay, so look, we have a pair of 2's, another pair of 2's. So this time, remember, it's like the dad has twin daughters at home, and he comes home, kills both of their boyfriends, kicks both of the daughters out. So how many got kicked out? 2 times 2, which is 4. How many we got left in? 10. Whatever gets kicked out, you multiply together. Whatever goes back in, you multiply together. But then the reason we don't see that answer is because why? This 2 that was kicked out in a previous time multiplies by 4 to make 8. So 8 square roots of 10. Okay, now let's do it with the calculator. Can I erase? 4 became 8 because 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, watch. Now watch me type it in. You have to be careful though when typing it in. 2 square root of 8. If you do not hit the arrow over button, watch what would happen. If I just continue typing times square root of 20, see how everything's staying up under that original radical? So you have to be careful when you just type stuff in. 2 square root of 8, and then arrow over to come out from under that radical before hitting times the square root of 20. And that gives you a value of 25.30. Which you obviously know is not the same number as B. Okay, 25.3 and 5 are not equal. Now type in 2 square roots of 28. And you get 10.58. Is that the same number as the question? No. Now type in 8 square roots of 10. And you get 25.298, just like we did when we typed in the question. So that's another way to get C. Really probably the faster way. Alright, number 3. Which sum is rational? Well, what are the first 5 letters of rational? What do they spell? Ratio. What is a ratio? Something that can be a fraction, right? So, in your calculator, where's the pi button? That should be fine. But look, right over here below clear, see it above the arrow? To get to it, though, you have to hit what first? Second, and then there's pi plus 18. Is that a fraction? Can you make it a fraction? How would you attempt to make it a fraction? Go to math, and then fraction, and then hit enter. Did it become a fraction? Which means it is not rational. You can't make it a fraction, so it's not rational. So now let's type in B. The square root of 25 plus 1.75. And we get 6.75. Now let's try to turn it into a fraction, Caitlin. Math, fraction, enter. Is that a fraction? Which means it's rational. It was made into a ratio. Pi is always irrational, guys. So if it has a pi, it's irrational. And then the square root of 3.5, it just says it repeats forever and doesn't have any kind of pattern. Okay, and then this is also irrational. So if rational means ratio, that it can be a fraction, what does it mean if it's irrational? It can't be a fraction. Okay, so let's type in A. The square root of 2 times the square root of 50. Well, what is the square root of 2 times the square root of 50? The square root of... No, what's 2 times 50? And what's the square root of 100? 10. Is 10 a fraction? Can't 10 be put into fraction form? 10 over 1? So that's rational. It is a ratio. Okay, square root of 64. Anything in a fraction? No. A whole number, yes. But if you put an irrational number over 1, it's still irrational. Okay, square root of 64 times the square root of 4. Well, what's the square root of 64? And what's the square root of 4? So then this is just going to give us 8 times 2, which is 16. And that is rational because it's a ratio, 16 over 1. So let's do this one without the calculator. What's the square root of 9? What's the square root of 49? 3 times 7 is... So that's rational. It's a ratio. But now watch when we type in the square root of 10 times the square root of 8. Square root of 10 times the square root of 8 is the square root of 80, which is 8.94. Well, when I go to math and hit fraction, it will not turn into a fraction, which means it's irrational. So do you now understand the difference between rational and irrational? And hopefully you won't forget that before, the next Tuesday. All right, number 5. A rectangle has a length of 12 meters and a width of 400 centimeters. What is the perimeter in centimeters of the rectangle? Well, the first thing I would do is I would draw myself a rectangle because it just makes it easier to have a visual and kind of label what you're dealing with. Its length is 12 meters. Its width is 400 centimeters. And they want to know the perimeter. How do you calculate perimeter of a rectangle, Chloe? Chloe, how do you calculate perimeter of a rectangle? You need to pay attention. You add up all sides. Okay, anytime they ask for perimeter, all you do is add up all the sides. Remember, area would be length times width. Perimeter is when you add up all the sides. But you also have to keep in mind, they want the answer in centimeters. Every single answer is given in centimeters. So what's our issue? The length is currently in meters. What is 12 meters in centimeters? 1200. Centi means 100, so you just multiply that by 100 and you get 1200 centimeters. Well, since this is a rectangle, wouldn't that make this 1200 and it would make this side 400? And now you just add them all up. What do those four values add up to? 3200. Does that make sense? Just remember, every meter has 100 centimeters. So if it's in meters, to convert it to centi, you multiply by 100. If it had already been in centimeters, to convert to meters, you would have done what? Divided by 100, or yes, moved to 2 places. Okay. Number 6. Jill swam 200 meters in 2 minutes and 42 seconds. If each lap is 50 meters long, which is most likely to be her time in seconds per lap. Okay, well, if the whole race was 200 meters and each lap was 50, how many laps did she swim? So basically, aren't we trying to figure out if she swims each lap at the same rate, what those 4 numbers would need to be to add up to 2 minutes 42 seconds? What do you think we could do first? Right. First, we should convert her time into all seconds. Since the answers are in seconds, we need to convert her overall time for the whole race into seconds. How many seconds were in those first 2 minutes? 120. But then you have to add the 42, so yes, you get 162. That's her total for the entire race in seconds. So to figure out how much each of these laps are, what do you do? And what do you get? 40.5, which is closest to which answer? 40. Now, I know, like people earlier today, I don't know what they've been doing, but a lot of people have been getting 60. But use your common sense. 60 seconds is a minute, right? So if it took her 60 seconds to do all 4 laps, that's how long for the whole race? 4 minutes, which is way more than her time for the race. So use your common sense, okay? All right, number 7. What is the product of 7x minus 4 and 8x plus 5? Well, what do they mean when they ask for product? Sum is add, so product is multiplication. If they're asking you to multiply a binomial times a binomial, what method do you use? Yeah, what do we call it? Double distribution, or sometimes it's called FOIL. Okay? When you double distribute, first you're going to distribute the 7x to everything in that binomial. Okay, that's the first of the distribution. What's 7x times 8x? Right, because the 7 times the 8 is 56. And remember, when you multiply x times x, they're each to the first power. So that 1 plus 1 is 2. You add up the exponents. Now we have to do 7x times 5, and what do you get? 35x. Now, the reason we call this double distribution is because you're about to distribute again, but this time the negative 4 gets distributed. What is negative 4 times 8x? And what is negative 4 times 5? Negative 20. So the final answer is 56x squared, so now you know A and B are out. What do the middles combine to? 3x. Positive 3x. 35 minus 32 is 3, and then minus 20, so C. Any questions about that one? Okay, next page. A model of a house is shown. What is the perimeter in units of the model? Okay, so what are we asked to do here? What's the question? Add up all the sides, because that's what perimeter asks you to do. What do all those little notches mean? Like this one has 1, this one has 1, this one has 2, and this one has 2. It means they're congruent or equal. So if this side of the roof has 1 notch and this one does as well, doesn't that mean this is also 6x minus 4? And then if this side of the house has 2 and so does this one, doesn't that mean this is 12x plus 3? So now we have all sides labeled. We just have to add them up because that's what perimeter tells you to do. So when you add them up, what do you have to do though? You have to combine like terms. So first you would add up all the things with an x, all the variables. And what do all of those add up to be? 50x, which pretty much leans you towards C. But let's check just in case you made a mistake. Now you add up all the constants. What's a negative 4 plus a negative 4 plus 3 plus 13 plus 3? 19. There's no 19 in the answer, Samantha. 11. Okay, so it's C. Okay, so a question like that's easy. Alright, number 9. Which expression has the same value as the expression 8x squared plus 2x minus 6 minus 5x squared minus 3x plus 2? You're asked to subtract polynomials. This is a trinomial, this is a trinomial, and you're asked to subtract them. Does anybody remember the rules when you're subtracting polynomials? This minus sign in the middle, pay attention, it belongs to all of it. Okay, it's almost like it's a negative 1 that you distribute to everything. So will that affect this first trinomial? No, it'll stay what it was, 8x squared plus 2x minus 6. But this one, that 5x squared will become minus 5x squared. What will happen to the minus 3x? It'll change to positive, and what will happen to the 2? Minus. Basically, if you're subtracting, every sign will change. Now you just combine like terms. What will combine with the 8x squared? Which is 3x squared. So you can go ahead and eliminate C and D. And you will have a tool on your computer where you can strike through answer choices. That way once you narrow it down, you can, strike through them. 2x can combine with 3x, and they're both positive, so that's 5x. So that pretty much eliminates A. And negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. So B is right. Any questions? Okay.